I'd like to call the Finance, Administration, and Economic Development Committee meeting to order. It is Monday, November 20th. It is 3 p.m. If everyone could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public notification of this meeting has been published, posted, and distributed in compliance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. I would ask for someone to approve our agenda for today.
So moved.
I'll second.
And then I'd also like to ask, since it has been approved, for someone to actually strike number 12 from our agenda, and that will be either taken up at the next Finance Administration meeting or another meeting coming up sometime in the future of another committee. If I could ask for someone to make that amendment.
I will withdraw my motion and make a motion to take that item off the agenda.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. All right, so is any objection? Seeing no objection, we will look at making that change the agenda. So now, is there someone that can make the motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the amended agenda.
A second? All right, thank you. Is there any objection to that? Seeing no objection, the agenda has been amended and we have removed number 12. All right, let's move on then to citizens' comments.
No, minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to rush through this thing. I apologize. Approval of minutes for September 18th, 2023. Can I have someone make that motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any objection to approving the minutes from September 18th? Seeing no objection, those will be approved without objection. So they have been approved. All right, now let's move on to the citizens' comment. And Sarah, do we have anybody that has signed up online or anyone in the audience that would like to speak today? All right, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak? Seeing no one, we will then close citizen comment period and move on to our update from Assistant County Administrator, Mr. Patrick Hill. Mr. Hill, thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much, committee and chairman. I really appreciate it. Thank you for being awesome, and thanks for giving me an opportunity to provide you with an update on the division. Just as my peers have done before me, what I'd like to do for this session is allow one of our department directors to come up and give you a brief departmental update. I'd like to announce the Records Management Department Director, Tamika Green Judge. She's going to come up here and talk to you just a bit brief about some of the updates she's got going on in her department.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
I just want to update you guys on a few things that Records Management has done and a few things that we are currently going to be proposing for the future. So in Records Management, we recently implemented Extero, which is the new FOIA platform that we use. And so far, we've received 1,300 requests that are being processed. And out of the 1,300 FOIA requests that were submitted, we have 917 requests that were processed. We also have the citizens, the feedback from them is going well for the FOIA requests in the portal that we have because it allows them to track the progress of the FOIA requests that were submitted. And we also have an update for Application Extender, which is our document manager. We added a few search fields for the building inspections and for the assessor's office to help them with a better search for their plans and their property records. We also have digitized additional estate records for the probate department. And for our courier service, we have the mail lockers. We've allowed the admin facility to be our pilot program for the mail lockers that we've installed. And so far, it's going well. And we would like to implement that same locker system at the Bluffton offices in the near future, which would most likely be 2024 after we budget for that. And then for postage, we've metered over $166,000 dollars worth of postage for the mail system. And we would also like to, in the next few months, create a survey for the department so that they would know more information about what records management does. Not many people know what we do, and they only assume that we just collect boxes, but that's not the case. We scan records, we digitize them to make them available to the departments. We do job requests. We would like to, instead of many departments outsourcing to the outside for their envelopes insertion, which we do some for certain departments, but like the treasurer's department or any other department, they mail out their, they outsource, you know, to stuff their envelopes and do their job requests. And that's something that we could do on the inside. And I know a few years ago that used to be the case, but I don't know what happened. So we would like to bring that back with records management. And also, we're gonna do a survey to have questions sent out to the departments to let us know what they do currently know about records management and what they don't know, what they would like to have records management do on their behalf, is something that we are currently working on. And that will be it for the updates. For me personally, I just wanted to let you guys know that I am a region officer for South Carolina Public Records Association. And because of the implementation of Extero, I won the Bob Rogers Innovation Award. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. And that's all that I have. Do you guys have any questions?
Any questions? Yeah, Alice, go
I
ahead.
missed it when you said you can do this new platform for FOIA.
For Extero? Yes.
That you can also, you can access like building inspection?
Well, not the building inspections. The plans, we have the ability to allow the documents that are released to be public through the portal. So the citizens would create an account and then they have access to the documents that were released.
Okay, so the public wanted to see what was going on in their neighborhood, like construction or renovation, they could create an account and then look up the address if they had seen something.
Yes,
Okay, that's great. Yeah, thank you.
you're welcome.
And just back to FOIA, just, so whenever you get a request, give us an average of how long it takes and what the amount of money is that someone will be charged. I know there's some that are really, really intense and lots of work, but just in a ballpark, what?
Well, currently, we've collected over $2,600. FOIA is not like your money maker
Right.
per se, but the request that comes in is based on the lowest paid salary. So the FOIA policy was created, and there's a $14 amount, which is per hour, but it doesn't take an hour for a department to provide a document. So the average is maybe like between $3 and $10 at the
Okay.
most.
And how long does that normally take? Is there a backup sometimes, or is it usually pretty quick when someone has a FOIA request? How long?
To respond, the initial response is 10 days.
Okay.
And then once they make the payment, we have 30 days to provide those documents.
Okay, very good. All right. Any other questions? Great. Thank you for being here today. We appreciate that.
You're welcome.
All right, so let's move on then to our first agenda item, and that is from the Finance Department, and that is Ms. Denise Christmas, who's our interim deputy administrator. And I think also Christine Webb was going to eventually join you as well, but
Right, she will.
good. Ms. Christmas, the floor is yours. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you. Hello, all. First, we're going to talk about our quarterly financials. Sarah, do you have our reports? Just to let you know, property tax notices for real property have not been mailed out yet. So our collections, our tax revenue collections are extremely down. They're just not there. So these first quarterly reports are gonna look a little bleak. So, okay, here we go. That looks right. It's green and, okay. So the Hilton Head Airport, is that Fund 5400? Yes. So the Hilton Head Airport has received $1,953,000 in revenue and has spent $1,049,000 for a net income of $903,676. So that's one of our enterprise funds, the Hilton Head Airport. The next enterprise fund will be Fund 5100, which is the Ladies Island Airport. So the Ladies Island Airport has collected $332,849 and has spent $290,949 for a net income of $41,899. Both are in the black for the first quarter. The third enterprise fund will be Fund 5010. 5010 is our solid waste fund. So our solid waste fund has millage attached to it, as you all know. So this fund has a net loss of $2.1 million right now. The tax collections are only at $480,690. So that is not representing what has actually been collected to date for real property. That's most likely delinquent or vehicle tax, personal property taxes. So the collections are at $480,690. The expenses are $2,623,821. So that's solid waste. Hopefully, the tax revenue collections will be collected and posted soon. And in my next report to you all, these numbers will change dramatically for the good. The final enterprise fund is Fund 5025, which is our stormwater fund. So stormwater has revenue collections of $109,821 and expenses of $980,111 for a net loss of $840,290. This fund does not have millage assessed. Stormwater fees are on your tax notices. So that's the reason why that revenue is not there yet. So moving along to our general fund, which is the biggie. Okay, general fund. So our general fund, I'm not going to go in detail with this fund. You all should have copies of these reports. But the general fund revenue right now is $19,798,000, and the expenditures are $43,887,000. So we're behind there too, and it's all due to the tax revenue not being collected. So I'm sorry, these reports are just not really good news today. They're, contrary to other reports, but we know the reason behind it. So can I talk about my next item before Christine gets up? It's the second item while I'm up here, is the certificate of
Sure,
excellence.
just so everyone understands that.
Okay, sorry, yes.
The numbers you're looking at right now is that every year this happens.
It
first
happens
quarter.
every year first
So
quarter.
this is not anything with surprise, nothing that we're worried about. This is just normal first quarter revenues, because again, the tax year, January 1st is when people start really paying their taxes. So
Absolutely.
Okay. Good.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, we can't operate forever on not collecting taxes, but we can operate until the first of the year.
And if you have the My Beaufort County, your tax bill is on that right now. You can see what your actual tax bill is, and it tells you when it's due. So if you have not gotten that particular app, you're actually waiting for your physical bill to be sent to you.
My Beaufort County. Yep, create an account. And the treasurer's office, they are taking tax collections right now. Just, you don't have a paper one in the mail yet. Thank you, Joe, for that.
Yes, there are, two types of individuals. The one that pay it now for this year's taxes, and those that carry it over and pay it in January for next year's taxes.
That's right.
All right, good. You said you wanted to go on then to jump to number 9 on our agenda.
Number 9.
Which, we can do that since you're up. That's the
is number
Government
9, isn't
Finance
it?
Officers Association.
Hold on, it's just this. wait your turn. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Do y'all have any other questions about the reports? I'm sorry. Okay, so we received notification a couple weeks ago that the county has been awarded the annual Award of Financial Reporting Achievement. It's our award that we receive from the Government Finance Officers Association each year. And this particular award is for our fiscal year 21-22 audit and our financial reporting thereof. And we're proud of this award, and it's an achievement that every county in the state seeks every year. So we're proud of ourselves. Yay. Okay, so next up, we're going to have, if you don't have any questions about the award,
No questions?
okay, we're going to have Christine
Ask a
Webb.
question, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Your first presentation, I got a lot of these numbers here, and account number, et cetera, et cetera. And, that's what I guess, what I'm looking at is really just the budget itself. There's no expenditure in here, is it?
Yes, sir. Which one are you? All of them, the top
Is it-
section says total revenue, and then under that are all expenses or expenditures. The object code, the last 5-digit code of the account number, if it begins with a 5, those are your expenses.
Look at it on there. See,
Is it not in the packet?
it's because your pages are turned. It should be
Oh,
like
my
that.
goodness.
Yeah. It's that page, yeah.
Okay.
In our packet, it was turned
Okay,
instead of
Okay.
vertical.
okay. Okay, go ahead. No problem. Okay, go ahead, I'll figure it out. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Nope. We're good. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Ms. Christine Webb, our compliance director, is going to go over ATAX with you all.
Ms. Webb, thank you for being here.
Thank you. First, a completed project was the chart of accounts conversion, which took a very long time to complete. So that has been done, and training is probably going to go next week on that. So everything went well on that. That's one project complete from finance. Another one is the financial statement audit for FY23, which is going on now. And this summary right here is for the state ATAX awards. And I put this for, Bryson actually did this for the last 3 cycles, so you can see how much was awarded and to who. And Mr. Sullivan will talk to you more about that and present their findings and recommendations. And recently, we just allocated per ordinance, the first 25,000 to general fund, and then another 5%, and then the 30% to the DMOs for the first quarter. So that's just current. So I just want to give you a current update on the state ATAX. Any questions on the state ATAX?
Any questions for Ms. Webb on the state ATAX?
Okay, for the local, the next one. This is the local ATAX and HTAX, the 3%, additional 3%, and additional 2%. See, that's the summary for the past 3 cycles. So it would have amount awarded, expended, and remaining balances. And this is going to be emailed because it wasn't included because we had to get the most current information that Bryson worked so very hard on. So I just wanted to give you a summary for everything for the past 3 cycles. And also for the first quarter, we allocated per the ordinance based on the percentages or the amounts, actual amounts to the DMOs so far. Okay, so that's for that. Oh, yeah, and also, does anybody have a question?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
In light of the state law changing about use of the ATAX money, we need to change our ordinance for this? or not? This is a legal question, I'm sorry.
For the 15% affordable housing?
So, I mean, if council,
If we decide to do that.
so if council seeks to take advantage of Act 57, I think, then yeah, you're going to need to change your ordinance.
Okay.
So it would apply to state A-tax and local A-tax if, or neither, or one or the other,
But we'll have to
whichever
do
you
that
guys
before
choose
we
to
can
do.
Start
Right.
using that, okay.
And then is there a cap in each one, Tom?
15%
In each?
in each. And with regard to the state, it's 15% off the top. So I don't know what the top is, but that means that's before the funds are allocated among our general fund and before they're distributed to the DMO. But you also have to do that very onerous study. I think it's onerous. It's going to cost
But
some
there
money.
was some discussion about that too.
Yeah, the town of Hilton Head has already done that. And you're going to have to amend your comp plan in order to incorporate that in that, if you want to use the state money.
State money.
Yeah, if
The
you want to
local,
use,
we wouldn't have to.
want to use the local, you don't have to do all of that.
And on the training that South Carolina Association of Counties had, they said you could, we're not in that situation, but it said you could reach back and use funds from a previous year if you had funds left over.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look into that. I don't want to express any opinion on that.
Okay.
But remember, as Jeremy Cook indicated, it's for a limited period of time, 7 years. So it's got to be done. But the statute is pretty clear. You can't expend or maybe dedicate funds beyond 7 years. So that's,
And would the ordinance have to come to committee first and then?
yeah, we would have to
Just the
follow our
normal
usual
procedure.
process.
Finance committee or,
I would think, yeah, fine. We handle ATAX through the finance committee.
okay.
Yeah, I would think so.
Okay, so for the local H-tax and A-tax grants, we were going to delay advertising the local grant awards application process for FY '24 until we finish reviewing more and auditing everything. So the actual expenses, the reports that were supposed to be submitted, all of the documentation. And possibly thinking more to align with the fiscal year basis, so for FY '25 budget and actuals. That. So we're gonna delay that, the announcement of them for now, until we come back for next.
How long will you delay that, Christine? How long will you delay?
How long? Until we have,
January, probably January Finance Committee.
it's November now.
Yep, Mr. Passman, go ahead.
And the second part of that is what Alice had talked about. If we want to use 15% of the A-tax funds, local A-tax funds, council has to go through that process, which will affect awarding any money using that. So it's something that we need to take up.
Yes, sir, that's a great point, because right now, our local ordinance does not specifically say for grants, like it should, if we're really gonna stay on a grant
Right.
award basis.
So that is something that we should be taking up at our next finance committee to get the ball rolling, because it would have to go through finance committee and then go to council for a resolution. Is that what we're thinking?
Yes, sir.
So it would be at least,
No, it's being ordinance.
be an ordinance?
Yeah, if we're going to amend the ordinance, you're going
So,
to amend the
okay, so it'd
ordinance.
be
But
three
I'll,
readings then.
yeah, but I'll have to look at our ordinance, our local ATAX ordinance, to see what it actually says about how those funds are allocated. There's been some discussion. You will recall years ago that council used to sit on its local ATAX fund and distribute it in large chunks as necessary. We did it, you guys did it for Mitchellville, you did it for Penn Center, and probably others, Santa Helena, years and years ago. After that, council decided they wanted to actually have an application process similar to the state award process, where folks would apply and council would divvy out funds. And so if you look at our ordinance, these ordinances are typically, they come forward maybe in January or February and are adopted usually in March. I can forward them to you if you'd like. And they both kind of run in tandem. And so if you look at that ordinance, you'll see that in this year, for instance, you guys awarded, nominal sum, not nominal, but, sometimes $30,000, sometimes $100,000 to different applicants. There's an interest in programming our local ATAX money, then you can do that too, but I'd have to look at our ordinance to see what exactly it puts on council, what the duties of council are with regard to it. So I can do that before and work with administration for the next finance committee meeting in January.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, that's all I have.
Anything else for
tax.
Ms. Webb?
Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming before us. All right, so then, so we are moving on to number 10, if I understand correctly, or is that something that we're? Okay, all right, number 10, so discussion and award recommendations from the accommodations tax, 2% ATAX board, and we thank you for coming, our chairman of the board, ATAX board, Mr. Jonathan Sullivan. We appreciate your time and your energy and everything you put forward, and thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me. Just like the other finance reports, I realized mine was pretty small, so I had to print mine on a little bit larger piece of paper so I could read it myself. So I understand what you're going through over there. We modified the process a little bit, not too much this year. We stacked both of the two DMOs we heard from. One was the Northern Beaufort County DMO and then our Scatter Region DMO. And part of the reason we did that is the ATAX committee thought it was important to kind of understand where we've been, where we are, and where we think we want to go. And by doing that, it helped us set the tone for what are those investments going to look like here in 23, 24 in terms of marketing. A great point that both DMOs indicated, we got this really big election coming up. So the cost of advertising is going to go up significantly, and a big piece they went over to was need times for what we need in terms of tourism. For example, August, September slow, and December, January, and February are slower months throughout the county. So that helped us really look at, as we evaluate different applicants and what their requests are, do they impact those times of the year that are viewed as need times, or is there already a lot of other activities or festivals or events taking place during the time of those applicants, so they can probably work better together with those funds. And then I've provided I tried to give a written recap. We met last Tuesday and did a full day, starting in the afternoon, full afternoon, into the early evening of applicants, heard them, and then we immediately deliberated to make our recommendations to the Finance Committee. And then I tried to type that up pretty quickly so that we can get on today's agenda. One of the key feedbacks were from last year was this a delay, not by council's fault. There was just a good review that needed to take place so that we could get funds out quickly this year. We heard that from a lot of the applicants. I got to tell you, Christine Webb and Bryson have been absolutely amazing to work with. Although Bryson Campbell informed me that y'all are filling the grants position, I recommend you close that position out and let her do it, although she probably doesn't want to. She was dynamite to work with. I mean, this process was so seamless. They were incredibly thorough, which really allowed us to set this process up and allowed it to happen quickly and efficiently. I'm sure you don't want me to go through this document line by line, but I'm happy to answer any questions. And if you want me to, I'm happy to do that too. Just tell me how you'd like to proceed.
Questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Mr. Glover.
Chairman, thank you, Mr. Sullivan. I'm going to ask you about one project that requested funding and didn't receive any, but was asked to make a recommendation to the local taxes for that. I think the Mather School Museum for
Yes, sir.
$375,000 requested, I guess.
It was right around there, yes, sir. For
Yeah.
the elevator
And
project.
so are they pursuing that at this time, or you don't know?
Are they going to pursue the local ATAX request?
Right.
Most
You
likely,
would know that.
yes. I spoke with Mary Lee Carnes, who's the fiduciary agent, TCL is the fiduciary agent. So it actually wasn't a Mather School request. It was more of a TCL for the Mather School building request, I guess. It was more of an investment in an elevator, an exterior elevator. They currently They currently have an exterior elevator,
Oh, okay.
and they want to replace that. They need to do, it's a full-blown, they have to go through, they actually already had some of their architectural drawings, but they need to go through permit, construction design approval through the city of Beaufort. And then they're gonna have to work with an elevator company, which are months out, but this project probably wouldn't even take place until 2025.
Okay.
So we didn't think it was a good use of the funds to disperse those, tie them up now. We recommend to go before the local H&A tax, and that would fit with their timeline a little bit better. We had a similar request for USC Beaufort, actually. They're wanting to put an elevator inside their building as well. So we recommend both of those for local H&A tax.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Sullivan, I saw you have a couple other ones you've made request they go to local A-tax, H-tax, and the reason for that being, as opposed to coming through your committee. I think you got a couple of them there.
Well, almost all of the big requests for construction, we recommended that. So part of our struggle is, we heard a lot of great applicants. We had just over 2.6 million in requests, and we had 1 million to recommend to council. So we had to figure out some way, shape, or form. Obviously, the biggest, if you got a giant ticket item, that's multi-year programming. We have actually, over in Bluffton, they have a Gullah Heritage Center they want to build. But that fund was for phase 1 and phase 2. They have a total of 5 phases to get through. And off the top of my head, I don't want to misquote, but it was somewhere between $1.5 million and $2 million for all 5 phases. And so it was going to take them the next 3 to 5 years to get through those phases. So we actually made the recommendation, why don't you go see if you can't do something quicker with the town of Bluffton? And they need to talk to town of Hilton Head. They hadn't asked Hilton Head for H or A tax. And they should. That's a huge, if you talk to the hoteliers in Hilton Head, they need something in their off season. That's a hard asset for someone to go do. That's not the beach. And so I would imagine Hilton Head would also be a contributor, not just Beaufort County. So, and town of Bluffton had contributed funds. So we recommended though, to go local as well as to Hilton Head. So when we went through all the applicants this year, something we did do was we tried to note if it's a City of Beaufort organization, town of Bluffton, whatever town they're in, have you talked to your town? Have you asked them for a tax? Are they supporting you as well? And then we wanted to make sure there wasn't any duplication of funds. So if they're asking for funds for marketing for this event and you're asking for Hilton Head funds, are they both for marketing for that same event? And if so, we want to understand more about it so we weren't giving them dollars for the same thing.
Good, thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions, Mr. Sullivan? No. Anyone online? I can't see if you have any questions. Anyone online? Do not hear anything. All right, I think that that's all the questions we have for you.
That's great. What we'd like to do, the ATAX committee, we had a couple seats that are vacant. One, we just had an application come through, which is great. So we're still shy, one committee member. But we'd like to try to meet probably in February, between February and April. And we'd like to come back to the Finance Committee on recommendations for how we want to change the application process. And you may want us to work directly with the finance team, which we will do. But if you want to hear those application changes back, we'd certainly be happy to come back and present them to you so that we can kind of clean up some of the biggest pieces. They need to submit, the applicants who are water funds have to really do a better job of giving us the post-event activities and results. And that really allows us to award dollars to those who are being good stewards of the county funds, state funds, however you want to look at them. So.
Mr. Lawson, this is Tabernac.
Yes, Ms. Tabernack, go ahead.
So I had a couple of items. As I mentioned before, I would like to see us use some ATEX funds to support county recreation support. I look at this list and I'm wondering why we're giving money to the Low Country Golf Owners Association, of which my Sun City belongs. And I don't understand, we're giving money to the Penn Center. They got a $2 million grant recently, last year, the year before. I'm just wondering why more of this money isn't being used for local Beaufort County, like our Parks and Rec we've talked about. There are none in here for that at all. You have the symphony in here. And I just don't understand why none of this is focused at all on the county itself.
Let me answer?
Yes.
Sure. Well, we did not hear any applicants for Beaufort County Parks and Recreation. We did hear one for Hilton Head Island Parks and Recreation. Before I misquote myself, I want to make sure, I think we did not recommend any funds for them because they were already a highly profitable event. Let me just make sure. That's correct. Hilton Head Island Recreation requested 10,000. We recommended zero funding for them. We didn't hear any Beaufort County recreation request. We did hear from Beaufort County Airports, which traditionally we have not funded. And this year we recommended, I think they requested 60, we recommended 50 for the airports. So they're looking to do some additional marketing out of Hilton Head Airport. And for the first time, they're launching tourism marketing for the Beaufort Executive Airport over in Ladies Island, which we thought was a great investment. We were glad to see that program come forward. There is a request in here for sports tourism. So the Beaufort County, or the Sports Council, that's a nonprofit 501c3 that was formed. And just for the record, I recuse myself from that because I'm on that board. We formed that because it allows a sports council to go before the state of South Carolina and get special grants. And we can use those as matching grants. But part of their proposal that Sports Council put forth is that they would go to different sporting events, meetings and organizations across the state in Georgia, North Carolina. I don't think any in Tennessee. And they would recruit sporting events to come to Beaufort County and use our recreation facilities. So that is to support our local recreation facilities, and they would bring those events here because they generate a tourism return. So hopefully that answers your question. So there is funds set aside. It's not a Beaufort County department, but is with intent to bring recreation back to use our Beaufort County facilities.
So on the 37 you have on your data here, those are the 37 that came to you asking for money, or there's some that did not have complete applications, or how's that all fall out? So if we see a zero, then that was someone that did not receive funds, but is this the total amount of folks that came to you? So
Yes, sir.
if they're on the list, then they didn't ask for.
This is every application, and there were a few applicants we technically should not have heard from. That's to the point we need to clean up our application process because they didn't provide really the documents that they should have provided. But we went and heard from all 37. This was their total request and in the recommended column. So like I said, we had just over 2.6 million in request, and we are recommending to the $1 million that Finance Committee set aside out of this fund. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's my
Okay,
question.
okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
perfect.
But we heard
It
from
doesn't
everybody.
answer my question. Again, I mean, we give money to the DMO. Why aren't they putting forth some of this for these local groups instead of using this ATAX money? I mean, again, we gave to the Penn Center. They got a $2 million grant. I don't understand that. I don't understand the Low Country golf owners because people pitch into that. So some of these, I just think, yes, we opened up the faucet to ask people what they would like. I'm not sure I agree with the expenditures. That's my comment.
I understand. You did mention Penn Center, and I did not answer that question. So the Penn Center, their request is specific to their Heritage Days Festival. Fortunately, it had just happened before we convened last Tuesday. So they actually had some really good numbers. They generated right around 4,000 visitors. Of that, they believed that roughly, I think, I'm hesitant to quote, but roughly half of them were tourists, so around 2,000 tourists. So their request was not for construction of anything. It was for marketing Heritage Days festivals for next year, next November. And it was specific to that festival, not for construction of any type of building, which was, I believe, the grant that they just received. In that request, though, there was a $20,000 component. I'm pretty sure it's $20,000. And it was specific to creating a trail that they thought would have been a big benefit for this year's Heritage Days Festival. And it was to complete the trail, which would not be a recurring request for future years if it does work out successfully, that they're doing in conjunction with the National Park Service. It was, okay, 20,000 was for the trail prep, that's correct. And 10,000 was for marketing Heritage Festival for next year.
So, Mr. Sullivan, is there no redundancy here? For example, Hilton Head Concours d'Elegance. Are you telling me that Hilton Head itself doesn't publish that? The Greater Beaufort doesn't see DMO? I mean, it looks like there's redundancies here. People get money and it's already focused elsewhere, is my point.
Okay, great question. So the DMO's funding, their funds are for their general marketing plans. And then what will happen is these organizations, for example, I won't use Concours, I think they do their own marketing. I was floored. I think their total budget's like $1.4 million, $1.5 million. It's a pretty big organization. But a lot of these organizations work with the DMO, so they'll take their funds and they'll work directly with the CVB, or in the Southern Beaufort County, they'll work with the CBV, and they use their buying power to place their ads. So they have to come before us, they'll request funds for their ad placements, and either they will choose to do it themselves, or they'll work with their CVB, and the CVB uses their buying power to go get them the most bang for their A-tax dollar, if it is in fact for a marketing request. I'll give you a good example to answer your question, actually. Gola Traveling Theater, that is part of, it's on page 2, it's the third item down, Gola Traveling Theater. So they requested, I want to say their actual request was around 50 or 60,000. And you can see our recommendation there. Part of that's because, to answer your question, so they've got another grant for another festival that happens the exact same time period. So we didn't, to answer your, exactly, we don't want duplicate dollars for a similar weekend. So they're going to work together for the two festivals. There's one happening in downtown Beaufort and then this one at USCB. They didn't need all those dollars because there's already marketing dollars to go in place for that same weekend, and they can work with the CVB and with the Gola Festival in downtown Beaufort, and then Gola Traveling Theater they can compete in using a comprehensive marketing strategy. So we gave them dollars for their website marketing and for additional marketing. They would do smaller events throughout the year. Does that answer your question? So we don't want to give duplicate dollars to organizations. That's the average applicant. To give you an example, there's 37. They're roughly 20 pages on average. We have a couple applicants that are 5 or 6 pages. Those are not complete applicants, but your complete applicant's about 20 pages on average. So you're about 700 pages in documents to go through. And then through their presentation, it allows us to really narrow down what are these funds going to be used for? Is there any duplicate crossover? And then if we don't award them funds, we tell them, we want you to work with this organization because they're getting funding for that same time period, just like we did with Gola Traveling Theater. Golf Course Owner Association, we didn't give them a big award last year. I don't think I have last year's award amount on there. Yeah, I do. We gave them a little bit more this year. Not what they requested, though, if I remember correctly, on Golf Course Owners. Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I don't want to burn up too much. I just want to make sure I answer her question. Golf Course Owners, they were down at the bottom, if I remember. We heard them late in the day.
They're on the fourth page, bottom.
Thank you. That'll be easier looking at off the Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, fourth page on the bottom, toward the bottom.
Okay.
We're getting 100,000 from Hilton Head, and we're giving them 7,500 more. Golf's a big activity here. I don't understand.
No, great question. So their actual request, I want to say it was $30,000. I'm looking for that on this other spreadsheet here, sorry. 25,000? Thank you, Christine Bryson. So their actual request, so last year's A-tax from Hilton Head, I remember that now. I don't know if I put that in my actual notes here, but last year they received right around 75,000 from Hilton Head A-tax. So with the increase for this year's request, that's a great example. We reduced their county funding because they already received so much more. And in their actual financial statement they provided, they were doing fairly well. I mean, admissions taxes are through the roof. They've been well funded through their public golf courses. So we still wanted to give them some funds for their general marketing for golf courses. But we absolutely do. That's a great example of when they told us what their A-tax was for Hilton Head. They've to satisfy their marketing budget based on what they did last year and last year's award. The $7,500 we're recommending more than covers their total marketing program. Does that help answer your question?
I hear everything you're saying. It still leaves me with my same question. So thank you, Mr. Chair. I got it.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Great. Any other questions for Mr. Sullivan?
No, I believe we need a motion to
Move this forward? At this time, is there someone who'd like to make a motion to move this to council?
I'll make a motion to move it to full council.
Thank you, Ms.
I'll
Howard. Is there a
second
second? Oh, thank you, Ms. Brown. Any more discussion? See.
So, Mr. Chair, when you move it to council, is it all or nothing or pick and choose?
It moves to council at any point. we can make changes or make recommendations and do those type of things. I think in the past, however, we have left it to our board, who has done a great job for us. So, just in past experiences, yes, there's times we have made changes to it. We have done it very, very selectively, because again, we don't want to trample the toes or affect the great job that our board has done. So, answer your question in a very long, expanded wind is the fact, yes, it still can be changed if that's something that we as a council choose to do.
So we will get what Christine Webb showed us, the 3-year look back, because we didn't get that in advance.
Yes, we can get that. Sarah's saying yes, that can be.
We should consider that before we act.
Okay. So that will be, so again, is there any objection to us moving this forward? I don't think there's any objections. This will move forward to council, first reading.
Just
Yes.
to, yeah, it'll come forward at the December meeting as a proposed ordinance to allocate the funds in accordance with, excuse me, with the recommendation of the state ATAX
Yes.
board.
Great.
If I could, just so all council understands, we look back at the 2 and 3 year spend. Fortunately, most of us have been on this committee. I think this was my 6th or 7th year. So we are fairly familiar with a lot of the applicants and a lot of the requests, and we absolutely look at their historical spends, if they're good stewards of their dollars, and where their other funds come from. So and I'm happy to come back if council wishes at a later date to present more information. And as it relates to A tax local, very supportive of 15% as a hotelier who writes accommodations tax request. Workforce housing is absolutely needed, so thank you for your support. Tom Davis did a great job getting that passed. And an easy ordinance amendment might just be that you're going to hold 15% aside so that you can, fill those requests as they come in and start building a cash pile. We absolutely need housing, workforce, affordable housing, so thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
I want to just thank Mr. Sullivan for the report, particularly where you have included, because I don't think you've done it in the past, the other entities that are funding those projects. So I just want to say thank you for that, because it gives us a better picture when we look at the project itself.
Perfect, we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Because it is not an easy job, and obviously now to try to be more and more transparent of where this money goes. Again, you guys have done a great job, and this is a great report of what we've seen. I think you have done a good job of spreading the money out, keeping people happy, and making sure we try to fund as many places as we can. Again, so thank you, and thank you to your committee for everything that y'all do for us. So thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, could I just take one quick minute to go back to the discussion about the local ATAX? So while we were listening to the state ATAX board, I went back to our local ATAX ordinance, and it provides that the funds can be used for all of these purposes that are set out in the statute, and we enumerate them here. But then finally, we also say for all other proper purposes, including those set forth herein. So I don't think we would need to amend that ordinance. I think state law allows you now to use them for workforce housing. So I think you're good to go on the local ATAX ordinance.
So we would not need to change anything, that we're good with our current word
On the local
on
ATAX ordinance.
the local ATAX. But state ATAX would still need to make that designation. Yes, okay, all right.
Well, my CFO is telling me otherwise, so we'll get back to you guys.
We'll look forward to the next finance meeting on that. All right, next up, we're gonna skip, let me just make sure we got our numbers correct here. Nope, we're actually number 11, and our interim county administrator, Mr. John Robinson, is gonna be discussion on funding for workforce housing. Mr. Robinson, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thanks, Jonathan, for the introduction to workforce housing. That was really appropriate. I'm not sure if you knew that was coming up. Last week, we heard from our finance attorney, Jeremy Cook, who gave us lots of options, legal options for us to fund affordable housing projects. I talked briefly about some options within that Beaufort County has. So today I'm going to be extremely brief. Basically, you asked me to go and look at our budget and find some funding opportunities specifically for workforce housing. So we have One option is our general fund balance. Our staff's recommended funding source is use of ARPA funds. We have about $5 million right now in unprogrammed ARPA funds due to some under-budget projects or some projects that haven't materialized, unmaterialized projects. So we have that opportunity to use those funds. So if it is the will of council to allocate some of those funds towards workforce housing project, staff would recommend that use of ARPA funds to make that happen.
Mr. Chairman.
All right, any questions? Yes, Ms. Howard, go ahead.
I think that's great. I think it should be toward projects with a plural, and that perhaps we have a task force of staff and council to vet those, like we're doing with the green space program of some type of subcommittee, so that it's fair to all, and I'm real excited that we have money available.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that. Something that the county staff will work on here in the very near future as we begin our strategic planning process and our budget planning process. I would say, not really long-term, but long-term as in the next several months, 4 to 5 months, we would seek to hire a full-time employee to manage our workforce housing initiative and work with several workforce housing groups, along with the Workforce Housing Trust Fund that we already are members with and our member partners to help create a Beaufort County workforce housing initiative in unincorporated Beaufort County. So that's a little more long-term than this immediate short-term solution.
So knowing that we have funds available, it's up to this committee then to make a recommendation to go then to council to look at creating a fund for that. I'm sorry, Mr. McCallum, go ahead.
Thanks. And I agree with you. We have short-term and long-term considerations. And one of the things that we have been considering is a request from the Community Development Corporation for funding for specifically work in unincorporated Beaufort County, which would be the stipulation to any money that would be given to them. This workforce housing was a priority for the first 4 years I was on council. Now I'm in my 5th year, and it's still a priority. And I think that we need to take action on something like this in both the short term and long term. And I think we have a viable operator coming in with a significant plan to start putting people in buildings. And I'd like to see that happen. So I'm willing to make a motion, Mr. Chairman, in that regard, if you would entertain it.
All right, so there is a motion for us to look at creating a fund for workforce housing, and was it the specific of where you're looking at sending money?
I was going to move that this committee recommend to the full council that it provide funds in the amount of $600,000 to the Coastal Community Development Corporation with the following stipulation: that these funds in their entirety will be used solely for the purposes of designing, constructing, or purchasing workforce housing in unincorporated Beaufort County, that the county and the Coastal Community Development Corporation enter into a memorandum of agreement instituting these and other terms as the administrator deems appropriate.
I'll second the motion, and I would like to comment.
All right, so seconded, and you have the first discussion.
Okay, I have, as we all know, I've been working on this since I was first elected in 2015. I have a problem with it going to a specific group. I don't think other groups such as Habitat have had an opportunity to ask for specific money, and they would in unincorporated Beaufort County. I'd just like to discuss that. I don't know, I don't see why the motion has to be to a specific organization, just money. And then we can work out MOAs with whoever applies for that money.
Okay, is there anyone else that would like to talk on this subject and this?
Yes, I'm not speaking against the motion. I think I kind of favor what Mrs. Howard just said, because there are other areas, there are other agencies
I think that if $600,000 is there, if out of 5 million, you still got more money, I think a recommendation which would be more inclusive of other agencies, other groups, to deal with workforce housing and stuff, I would be more supportive of. So if Mr. McCollum would relax his motion just to move us forward without being specific, I would really love to see that. Now, with the ARPA funds, because it's here, my understanding is that it has to be allocated by 24.
Yes, sir,
and then
the
spent
end
by
of,
26.
the end of 24,
And spent by 26.
I believe it's 27, but yes.
Or is it 27
Yes, sir.
now? Oh, okay.
Oh, it's spent, okay. So December 31st of 2026. So,
Okay,
yes.
so to me, that's immediate use of funds because that money got to be in the economy and spent by a specific time and stuff. So I would be in favor of that, particularly if we're going to use ARPA funds, because we got to designate those funds and then get it into the economy ASAP.
Yes, sir.
So I don't want to limit it to just one group. I want to broaden this so they can be used
All right.
in all the areas.
I have a comment, but I'll wait and see if there's anybody else that has a comment on this.
I do.
Ms. Tabernick, go ahead.
I agree with Ms. Howard and Mr. Glover. I would not put it for a particular group. I would open it up for in general, so we can have a broader perspective.
All right, and I'm not making a motion, I'm just open this up for discussion, is thinking of trying to do a compromise here. I mean, right now, we are the committee deciding where money goes and whether we decide to spend all the money, but I think that we would like to move some things forward for this organization, that if we could take whatever amount it is that we can decide to move forward, and then also then take what Ms. Howard said, set up a committee, get people ready to go so other people can apply, and whatever amounts that is that we then make available. But as the one side of Mr. McCollum is exactly right, is we keep kicking the can down the road. I think Mr. Logan Cunningham always uses that word, that we need to make a decision and give some money to keep things going, and then have additional monies that would be available then by committee to make those decisions that Ms. Howard talked about. With that, we have to create a committee. We'd have to have people look at applications, create an application system. And Mr. Kevin, I can see you looking over here like you.
I'm thinking my head as you tick
Right.
these things off. Yeah, exactly right.
Well,
If that's what you want to do, I mean, that's different from Mr. McKellen's
Right,
motion.
exactly.
The two different paths.
Well, it's really not different. This is just the short-term application. We have a viable group. They've been here 3 times asking for assistance. We know what they do. They have a track record. We've listened to them. We've sent it to the community services. We sent it to the council. We sent it back to community services, and now we sent it to finance. We could do this for the next 5 years. But we have a viable group, and it's $600,000 out of an available amount of $5 million. I don't think that I'm trying to say that no one should put a task force together for future consideration, but nothing has stopped anybody from asking for money. This group came in with a program, asked for the assistance, and I'd like to see them get that assistance in the short term, see how they perform, and if they perform well, we can consider giving them additional funds. But I'm not suggesting that people in the future can't come in and also ask for money. I'm dealing specifically with this group that have been before us 3 times asking for assistance. I do not want to push this off to start a task force to see who else might be interested in doing something in Beaufort County sometime in the future.
Sorry.
I wasn't saying instead of, I was saying that those.
I understand.
what
I
you
think
want to
it
do
has
is
to
one
go in
thing.
2 directions. One is the short-term funding for this viable group, and then create a task force to consider who else may be interested in doing something for workforce housing in unincorporated Beaufort County. And I can incorporate that in the motion, Tom. Suggest that we fund this short-term and then institute procedures to direct the executive staff to form a task force to investigate how we might further assist other groups that might be interested in the future to create some workforce housing.
All right.
Well, let's make sure what motion is on the floor?
We're still in discussion.
Right now, you're
Yep.
on your first motion,
Right.
okay?
Right, we're still in discussion, so Ms. Howard.
I think, Councilman Kellen, you misunderstand me. Habitat for Humanity has been here for many, many years, and there are other very good groups too that do it. It seems like because they came to us 3 times, but Habitat for Humanity has been before us before. We did give them and the Housing Authority money for their hookups for Beaufort Jasper Sewer Water Authority and the houses that they have done, and then the houses that are on Reebok Road that the city of Beaufort did. I just don't want us to seem like we're being preferential and not fair to these other groups, such as the Housing Authority in Beaufort County, Habitat for Humanity. There are other groups too, I just can't think of them at the time. $600,000 is a huge shot in the arm for any organization. And it would be great. And I don't think applications would necessarily be onerous. I just think we should be fair. And if, you know, yes, they've been here 3 times. Habitat has been before us, and so has the Housing Authority in years past. And we did what we could with the hookups. And we did those in incorporated and in unincorporated areas, the hookups to Beaufort Jasper for water and wastewater, so.
All right, so if there's any more discussion, right now, the motion on the floor is that we give the $600,000 to the Coastal Community Development. If there's no more discussion, I guess we'll go ahead and have a vote then for that, and we'll make it a, if you can call the
Can an amendment, a proposed amendment?
if we want to make an amendment to the,
I would like to propose an amendment that it be given to that group or other organizations that can immediately present what their plan might be. So it would be what's the name of the group? CD?
Coastal Community Development
Council of Community Development, CCD, or other groups who are prepared to take immediate action in unincorporated Beaufort County.
all right, so we have an amendment. Is there a second to that amendment? All right. There is no second to the amendment, so that amendment then fails. We go back to the original amendment, which is the $600,000. Let's go ahead and take a roll call vote then. Ms. Sarah, please.
Vice Chair McKellen,
Yes.
Councilmember Howard,
I have never voted against anything for affordable housing, but I don't think this is fair, and I'm going to vote against it. No.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Chairman Passament,
I'm going to say yes.
Committee Vice Chair Tavernick,
No.
Councilmember Bartholomew,
Yes.
Councilmember Glover,
No.
Committee Chair Lawson.
Mark Lawson says yes.
The motion passes 5-3.
All right, so now is there a second motion that needs to be made to create the task force? Is that something we want to handle at a different time?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, so make the
To
motion.
create a short, look at it quickly as possible, a task force to look at how to use the balance of, how many dollars is left after 600,000?
Yeah,
And
Nelly.
the ARPA funds that are there.
Right, we use ARPA funds.
Would we need to set up an
Yeah.
amount that we would need to
I'm-
look for, Tom, or how's that?
I mean, I don't know what the motion is, but
Well,
if,
I was hoping to put a dollar amount in it, but I
I'm
can just
cautious to
say.
put a dollar amount on the amount of ARPA funds there.
Well, how did
So
we
this,
come up, well, never mind. I
well-
don't know how we came up with 600,000 for this group, but, okay, I will make a motion that we use possibly ARPA funds or general fund money for a task force to look at applications and for unincorporated Beaufort County for affordable housing.
A
Is that-
second.
Is that enough?
so is that a motion?
That's a motion to set up a
Is a
task
motion
force.
to set up a task force and
Right.
ask the county administrator to set up a task
Yes.
force to investigate the possibility of using how much?
I'm not gonna say a dollar amount.
Additional ARPA funds
Additional
for
ARPA
workforce
funds.
housing?
Or auto funds.
Or other funds,
ARPA or other funds for
And we could look at-
workforce housing.
GO bond, whatever.
Okay,
That's
so
the
that-
motion.
Motion, and then we had a second. Is there any discussion now?
Yeah, I have a question.
Mr. McKellen, go ahead.
Who's going to be on the task force?
I'd leave it to the
That would be
administrator.
We'll
Mr.
have to-
Robinson that decides that
We'll-
at this point, unless we did direct him differently.
We'll have to do
That's
some
what I'm
work.
asking.
We'll have to do some work to begin to create a whole outline of what our objectives are, what our outcomes are, who needs to be involved in this.
Okay.
If there's an application or.
Right.
How long do you think that'll take?
Well, we have a lot going on.
I know.
A couple of months.
Yeah.
Maybe February, March, we can put something together
Okay.
that's reasonable.
Okay, and then you will bring that in and present it to everybody, and then
Absolutely.
more time will pass, and then whoever may be interested may make an application.
Yes, sir.
So maybe sometime this summer.
In the interim, I think we can certainly address, other folks that,
Right.
they come in, and we'd have to bring them to council and address them,
Okay.
and independently, I think,
Okay, thank
would be
Make it
appropriate.
seem gloom and doom.
It's not onerous. It's not onerous.
All right, any more discussion?
Yeah,
Yes, Mr. Passman, go ahead.
if I hear what everybody is saying, I would like to amend your motion as follows. I would like it to say, I move that this committee recommend to the county council that it provide funds with the following stipulations. That these funds in their entirety be used solely for the purposes of designing, constructing, and/or purchasing workforce housing in unincorporated Beaufort County, and that the county and any developer enter into a memorandum of agreement memorializing these and other terms as the administrator deems appropriate. It's saying the same thing we just gave $600,000. It doesn't say we have to create a task force. It does say they can come immediately because they know exactly what they have to do.
Make a comment? Don't,
Yeah, so we have an amendment, though. Is there a
Well,
second?
is
to
that
the
a,
amendment?
is that a motion to amend?
Yes, that's a motion to amend. Was there a second to the motion to amend?
I'll second that.
Okay, so now discussion?
don't forget, we have the Beaufort Jasper Housing Trust Fund too.
That's separate and apart.
It is separate, but we shouldn't be working counterproductive to them.
This is use of our county funds in unincorporated Beaufort
I
County.
understand, but we also have pledged money to it, not pledged, we have said we would, if we can, fund it too.
Well, we just gave $600,000.
Not to the Beaufort County, not to the Beaufort Jasper Housing Trust Fund.
No, I know. But we just voted to approve a $600,000 expenditure to move that to county council.
I'm not connecting the dots there. Is this MOA regarding it too, or future dollars?
It's just what the future said. I mean, what this said. That's what we just voted on, the $600,000 for the community development
But there was another
corporation.
motion on the floor, which, were you amending that motion?
No,
It was amending your
My
motion to
motion?
create
You were amending my motion
correct.
to do an MOA for any organization that comes to us?
On the basis of this, what I just read, that we don't have to have a task force to tell them what to do. We already specified this. We can short circuit the process.
Well, I was talking about future other applicants, other people that might want to come to us for money.
That's what I'm talking about too. Any
That's not the way I
applicant,
understood your motion. I'm sorry, Joe. Reread it, please.
okay. I move that this committee recommend to the county council that it provide funding with the following stipulations. I have not specified how many funds, because I don't know how many are coming.
I didn't in my motion either.
Okay. These funds in their entirety will be used solely for the purposes of designing, constructing, and/or purchasing workforce housing in unincorporated Beaufort County, and that the county and any developer will enter into a memorandum of agreement memorializing these and other terms as the administrator deems appropriate. Which is exactly what we just said for the $600,000.
And in your motion, Joe, that we would then become the committee as opposed to creating a committee. It would be us that whenever someone comes forward and asks for money, we would then decide. if
All
money's-
11 people, or this
or
committee?
it could be this
Committee.
Committee,
This
that would still
committee.
go to council then after that.
Yeah.
So
I'll
the-
withdraw
the-
my motion. I withdraw my motion completely,
Okay.
and you can make your motion.
That would be my motion.
So your motion is on the, did
Wait,
his motion get a second? Did he get a second?
I'm like a dog chasing my tail on my own tail. That's right. So York has to then,
Yes, he got a second from Larry.
It's semantics. I
Yes,
withdraw my
I-
motion. It's fine.
and Mr. Glover needs to withdraw his second.
Let me, yeah, I probably will, Joe, withdraw my second. Let me say this, that, I have problem with council, being in charge of policies, not policies, but administration. And I really want to lean on the administration to give us some guidance, to give us some recommendations, to vet groups that come before us. I see groups come before us and I don't know them that well. You may know them, but I don't. But I think the administration will vet them and basically say, this is a good group we can work with, get an MOU with them and move forward. I like to see that. For us to be sitting here trying to decide who gets what, I have areas in my community I want to see happen, the same thing, but I don't want to get involved with individuals, contractors, et cetera. I want the administration to kind of be that clearinghouse for me. But I'm going to withdraw my motion. Hopefully we can move forward. Eventually we get all this sorted out for workforce housing.
If I may, that's exactly how I propose that it is going to happen. They're not going to come directly to this committee. Administration is going to funnel them and say, we have developer A, B, C, or just developer A or just developer C, and say, committee, okay, now will you approve this one to county council? Because it eventually has to go to county council. It comes through our committees, that's where the hard work is done. Administration is going to do the hard work, though.
I think that's the process that just occurred with the Community Development Corporation, where they came in with three committee committees, and then it was referred back to the executive staff to search for places for funding. That's exactly what happened.
Okay, so you.
I'm not too sure the administration is recommending this group that you're advocating for at this time. That's what I wanted to hear. That's all. Yeah.
Well, administration would come forward with a memorandum of agreement, with an MOA, with that organization, that includes a stipulation that council asked for. So within properties or
And I would love to see that happen
within
before
Beaufort
we
County.
allocated the funds. That's all. Yeah.
We're in our infancy.
Okay.
And
Yes, we are.
we're taking baby steps towards
And that's why I'm
workforce
saying what I'm
housing.
saying now. We're
Absolutely.
gonna move forward with what has happened, but in the future, I'm hoping that that recommendation would have come from you with all these stipulation with the MOU, et cetera, et cetera. That's all.
Certainly.
Thank you.
We can do that as we move forward in the future.
All right, so we then have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded by Mr. McCollum.
No, yes, sorry.
Yes.
Go yourself.
And is there any more discussion on that?
I would like to make one more comment. We do have an umbrella organization, I'm gonna beat that drum again, called the Beaufort Jasper Housing Trust Fund. And we need to use them for leverage, use them to make sure that anyone that comes to us asking us for money has pursued all avenues of other dollars. I don't know if this group is getting any money from Hilton Head, Town of Hilton Head, or not. I hope they are. And also explore any other leveraging things like money that we could get from the state for affordable housing. And that's just a comment. But I would depend on the administration to make sure those things happen in any MOA that comes before us for any organization working on affordable housing.
All right, any more discussion? All right, let's call the question. Let's go ahead and do a roll call vote again. Ms.
Chairman
Sarah?
Passman,
Yes.
Vice Chair McAllen,
Yes.
Councilmember Howard,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Committee Vice Chair Tabernick,
You're on mute, Tab. I can see your mouth go.
Yes.
Councilmember Bartholomew,
Yes.
Councilmember Glover,
Yes.
The chair says yes.
Committee Chair Lawson. Okay, the motion passes.
Good, thank you. Great, thank you, Mr. Robinson, thank you for that. And that actually went, I guess, good to get where we are. So again, let's move on then. I know we're getting a lengthy here for our next, we're gonna skip number 12, that was taken off our agenda, to number 13, recommend approval of an ordinance declaring certain real property located at 2 Mullet Street as surplus property, authorizing the interim county administrator to execute any documents necessary for the sale of real property, and then allocating proceeds from sale of real property. And Ms. Brittany Ward, and county attorney, we appreciate you coming forward, and what do you have for us?
Good evening, everyone. This is the property at 2 Mullet Street, at the end of Alljoy Road in the town of Bluffton. It was purchased in April of 2023 for the purposes of extending out the current Alljoy boat landing and for some other additional infrastructure to be built on there. The home that is located on the northern property, you can see it right above the Track A verbiage there. Has no need for the county, so we would like to have it deemed surplus and put it out for bid. Any questions?
What do you mean put out for bid?
It would be publicly auctioned, so once the property is deemed surplus, or if deemed surplus by the county, we do have a website that would be put up. The public would then be able to place bids in on the property for the purchase.
Are we just gonna sell that house?
Just the
And
house.
leave the rest of the land?
Correct.
So we can build a parking lot or Alljoy Landing?
So the engineering plans have not been finalized yet, but you will see here the original, the current landing is 0.64 acres on the southern, yep, right where the mouse is. Thank you. Correct. Thank you. And the new property is going to be approximately half an acre. So we would be adding on an additional half acre of parking as well as any other infrastructure needs from the engineering plans.
So we're just selling that house?
Correct.
We're keeping the rest of the land?
Correct. And we did have the property resurveyed. If you look at the survey that's in the backup that Sarah has up on the screen, we did relocate this, I'll call it the southern property line of the house property, moved it north a little bit so that it's a cleaner straight line.
And let me just say, this is in my district, and I know when we purchased this, which again, I appreciate everyone on council buying this, because again, it will never come back up for sale again.
No, it will
And to be
not.
able to expand that landing, it's a once in a lifetime thing, and I know y'all heard me say that. So I've had lots of people in my district say, okay, what's gonna happen now? And I kept saying, we're gonna wait for a recommendation from staff, because there's three things that could happen. One is what you're proposing is for us to go ahead and sell the house, recoup some of our money.
Correct.
And take advantage of the additional property. Two would be for us to put a renter in there and rent it for a long period of time and hopefully decide what to do later on. And the third thing to do would be tear the house down.
Oh, no.
And develop it. And I know a lot of the neighbors down there have asked, and I've heard more people say that they'd like it to remain a residential dwelling and us to sell it. And I kept on saying, we'll wait for a recommendation from our staff. So as we're coming forward, your recommendation is for us to use the usable property and then put the rest of it back on the market to sell to recoup some of our money and use that money then back in for the Alljoy landing. So that- is
Correct,
that
to be for
correct?
the boat landing extensions and any other projects that are in that surrounding area. For instance, the beach room.
Did we
beach
get
area.
appraisal on the house?
We did receive an appraisal. The appraisal, and we also received an inspection report on the home, all within the last, 15 days. The appraisal came in at $1.2 million. We purchased it in April for $965,000. The appraisal, though, does not include the inspection report. Typically, an appraisal is not going to have the two coming together. So we would be selling it at the fair market value. Public record, as of right now, it did come in at an appraisal from a licensed appraiser at $1.2 million.
So how does the county sell property? Do we?
We have a website that has already been set up by our IT department. We've already, I guess, 2-3 years ago, several of the members on council were here at that time. We deemed 6 properties surplus property. We sent them, they were advertised through the paper, at which point we take in bids for approximately 45 days. They are reviewed by administrative staff for the purposes that are set forth in the ordinance.
What part of administrative staff?
It would be the interim county administrator himself.
And any decision comes back to us to make the final decision. So it would be our decision if we sold it and
The ordinance is written here. It does state that the administrator is going, they are combined into one. So it'd have to be sold at the fair market value, contingent on the state code that states it has to be sold at fair market value. And you would be giving him the ability to sign all documents and sell the property.
Did I understand you say it won't be sold below fair market value?
That is correct. Fair market value is not, can be below the appraisal price though. And that is because the appraisal, as I stated, does not take in consideration the inspection. The inspection will also be included in the public record when the bid site is put up.
So if there's an inspection report saying it needs $200,000 in repairs, then it would be $1 million.
Correct.
Got it.
Good point.
Mr. Chairman,
yes, Mr. Gilbert.
is this the property, if I'm not mistaken, that the house, and was this the property that had the,
It had a dock.
had the dock,
Yep.
the survey line straight through?
Correct.
that portion of it?
So that's the survey that I attached as an exhibit or as a backup. We've moved the property line north to our benefit, to the county's benefit for better access into the boat landing property.
And that includes the portion of the house that Mr. Glover was concerned about that extended over the property line? The
No.
footprint of the house went into the other lot, I think, and if you move the
Footprint.
property line, that should take care of it.
I'm unaware of
Mr.
the,
Glover?
there's no
That's what
survey
I'm
line.
thinking. Is that it almost like we bought the portion of this porch or something? In that property deal, but.
I'm sorry, I'm
I
not
never
aware
knew-
of the property. We have taken the new survey that we had done, or that was completed recently. Our planning and zoning department has looked over it as well. So we've ensured that the movement of any of the property lines fall within this correct setback.
I think we just had a GIS.
I think that might,
last
oh,
time.
yeah, okay. It might have been a
Those sometimes
GIS
don't line
mix-up.
So the
Well, let me
GIS
ask you
is
this
different
then, did we buy the house as well as the property?
We did.
Oh,
It
see, I
was-
thought we just went after the property, so we did both.
We
Yes.
bought both the
Alright.
vacant land that's in front of it as well as the home. The
Okay.
family did not want to
And
separate
dis-
the two.
Disregard what I just asked. Okay.
Okay,
Well, then the footprint of the house is not fully on one lot.
correct.
That's what
Gotcha.
the problem was. though.
Okay, right, okay.
All right, any other questions?
Yeah,
Mr.
these
Bassett?
are sealed bids, correct?
They are, well, they are sealed as far as when they come in. There is not a public record, no. Clearly, FOIA would say that once the property has been sold, they would be FOIAble.
All right, so I have a motion then to move forward.
So moved?
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any more discussion?
Just one quick one.
Yes, sir.
Even when it's a sealed bid, council can still reject the bid, right? Or is it final?
The ordinance that is in front of you would give the authority over to the county, or the interim county administrator to take the bids, make the decision best on the behalf of the county, and sign all documents necessary to sell the property. So it will not come back to council at this point.
My question is that then can the administration reject the bids?
Yes. If hypothetically, if we receive 20 bids for this property, the administrator will review all bids. He will review them based on two aspects. One is going to be the purchase, or the proposed
bottom line
purchase
is the
price.
money.
Yep, the money,
Okay.
as
If-
well
if
as
it
the use of the
comes lower
property.
than what we should receive, can
Then-
the administration reject those bids?
Yes, sorry, yes.
That's my question.
The answer is yes. If the administrator
Okay.
looks at 20 bids and all 20 of them are for $100,000, he can say, we're not selling this.
I just want to make sure. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
The goal is to make the county whole at the 965, as well as I have also added language in the ordinance that says the purpose of the purchase can also be taken into consideration. To Mr. Chairman's point, the community has a desire to keep a home there. So if that can be taken into consideration as well.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good. Any more discussion?
No.
All right, so we have, is there any objection to the motion we have on the floor? Seeing no objection, this move be passed without objection. Now, does this go to council then for is this a
Yes.
resolution? Or
It is
this-
an ordinance.
It's an ordinance, so we need
Yes.
three
3 readings and a public hearing.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Ms. Ward. Let's move on then. Number 14, recommend approval of a resolution adopting the Beaufort County Employee Handbook. And Ms. Catherine Mead, our Human Resources Director, thank you for going.
Yes, thank you for having me. You guys have been in receipt of the new draft handbook along with an extensive list of some major changes that we did. Our team has been working for several months on this project. We've had a lot of collaboration with our assistant and county administrators and department heads for their feedback. I'm really just here to answer any questions that you may have. I'll hit a few highlights on here that I thought would be of most interest to you all, is that we've added a parental leave policy that provides up to 6 weeks of paid leave. We've also added a whistleblower policy. We are making a minor change on our grievance hearing policy to whereas if the grievance is against the county administrator, those findings and results from the committee will actually go to the chairman of county council for determination. We've also extended our bereavement leave to our employees from 3 days per year to 5 days per occurrence. We've added a conflict of interest and business ethics policy to the handbook. We've also added a confidential county information policy. We've made some updates to our emergency disaster policy and had a more extensive pay policy attached to that, so everyone is clear on the pay that is involved with emergency disaster events. And another one that we've done is we coordinated with our risk management team as well. This one was not on the list, so I wanted to make sure I highlight that. We've coordinated a risk management to ensure it doesn't go against any of our policies for vehicle coverage, but we are going to forego mandatory post-accident drug screens unless the employee is at fault. Right now, we have several non-at-fault accidents that we are requiring them to go do screenings, and it's not necessary. So those are some of the major highlights, again, with everything else that you've already received. So I'm just going to open the floor up if you have any questions for me.
All right, we'd look for approval of this, and it would go to council as a resolution for 1 reading. So again,
Yes, sir.
Ms. Howard, go ahead.
Y'all did a great overhaul, I think, looking at past, but I had a few questions. One, the whistleblowing section, that's on page 14, I think. The reporting chain of that, if there's a problem with the supervisor, maybe the person that's being on report, then I think that needs some changes, the way it's outlined based on some of the recommendations that we've gotten from the firm that is working with us on our investigation.
Are you looking at 1.6 whistleblower on page 17 or the complaint? So we have
The
two
whistleblowing
separate.
1.6.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because this one, the reporting would go to the county attorney,
What if the
Human
county
Resources
attorney is
Director.
the one that might be on report? I'm doing a what if.
Sure,
I
yeah.
think I'd really like to see it be an we have a contract with a firm now
Mm-hmm.
that would be totally, this is worst case scenario. I don't mean that this would happen.
Right.
But if they had an outside attorney that is not part of the county chain of command, so to speak.
Okay, we can look at that.
And that's just a comment I had. And then on the sexual harassment, kind of the same thing. That's 1.7? No,
It is
that's drug
actually
abuse.
up a little more. It's the 1.5 is
1.4.
the complaint procedure.
Kind of the same thing
Okay.
on that. And two other remarks. I really appreciate that y'all have changed how county employees can or cannot be involved in political
Yes.
things. You do reference the Hatch Act. Do you plan to hold them to the federal Hatch Act? Is that the intention? I mean, it's mentioned,
The
but I
intention
don't.
is it's their responsibility to review that and ensure that they are eligible if they decide to run or provide funding.
Okay, I'm very familiar with the Hatch Act,
Mhm.
having been a federal employee. And I just wondered, how is that gonna work, for a county employee? If you thought that through, that's fine, but that's my question.
Brittany and I worked on that
Can you put a political sign in your
specific
front
one.
yard if you're a county employee? As a federal employee, and I'm looking to Larry, because he was one too, I never did.
Oh,
When
you
I was a-
couldn't?
Yeah, you couldn't, and you couldn't, there was some really restrictions on that. So,
Okay.
You might want to think
Let
about
us,
that.
let us
Talk to
go
the
back and talk
county.
about that in a little more detail.
And then one other thing, training, and if I missed it, point it out to me, but I do think, county employees need training on sexual harassment and whistleblowing, even if it's just a half hour like we do for our computer phishing and understanding how you can be hacked on your computer, even if it's something they do like that. I think we need, every county employee to have annual training on both of those issues.
We currently do.
Every
We
year.
can always consider making it even part of our handbook manual.
But you
But we do have
annual training
compliance training that includes sexual harassment, like you said, IT security.
Every year?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I recall the IT, but I don't recall having to do the other, and I'm,
Well, and that's another good thing we have in our office.
Okay.
We do have a training, workforce development program now, and we will ensure that it is being sent out
as a
every year
county-
as
as
it
a
should
county
have
person, I
been.
need to have that every year. Okay, all right. All right, that was my only comments.
Any other comments?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Gabbard, go ahead, and then, Mr. Glover.
So, Catherine, I think this was a really comprehensive look at your handbook, and I love that you gave us the cheat sheet per se. I had the same question about the whistleblower policy and the political participation. But I do appreciate you putting in the conflict of interest, business ethics, and the county confidential information. But I looked at page 151. I'm gonna go back to that one. You got something highlighted in yellow. I don't understand why. It's a county vehicle should be used if possible.
I'm sorry, what page did you say?
It's on page 151 in our packet. I don't know what page it is in your handbook because we can't see the page number on the bottom.
From memory, I believe there was
151 in the
a
packet.
section in the travel policy. Is that the
Travel,
policy you're looking at?
5.1. It's the second last paragraph, indicate method of travel, personal vehicle or carpool. I'm wondering why it's in yellow.
I'll let Denise speak on that. That was her policy. This is the one, Denise, for the county travel expense policy. This is the one that's
The policy is
currently
a
being
good
published
one, I'm
through
just
Fine.
wondering why it's yellow.
I'm not sure there's a reason.
Okay,
Highlighted it years ago and I amended it and I
Okay.
probably emailed it to Catherine and did not take the
Okay.
highlight off.
We can take that
So-
highlight off.
Yeah, good catch, Tab. We'll unhighlight.
I just thought maybe you like yellow, I don't know.
Emphasis.
Emphasis.
Emphasis, thank you.
Ms. Tabrick, anything else?
Oh, good job on that.
Okay, good. Mr. Glover?
Yeah, I looked at the whistleblower policy. I don't have a problem with it because of the chain of command. What it says here is that you come to the human resource, or you come to the attorney, or you can come to the county administrator.
Correct.
And if not any one of those, you can come to the chairman or the vice chair of the council. So I think, but I don't have a problem with outside source if that's something you want to use. But I think I'm satisfied with what's there now. The only thing I have with the whistleblower policy is that little clause you have here, to the extent reasonable possible. And it comes down to confidentiality. And I just want to know why you put that in there. I think a whistleblower should have exclusive confidentiality. There shouldn't be any reason for anybody to know who a whistleblower is. In this day and time, people, if they know that there's a whistleblower, who that person is, a lot of extreme things can happen.
Usually that disclaimer is in there because if we are crossing into illegal activities and we are obligated to report it to law enforcement, at that point in time, we would have to disclose names.
Even to law enforcement?
Mhm.
Really? Oh, the press got freedom of, and they don't have to report their source, but that's all right.
Well, if we're making the report, yeah, we would.
Okay.
And I will let you know, this policy is actually provided to us. We started a draft on this and provided that over to the external legal or law firm that's assisting with the audit. and asked them to help clean this language up, and this is what they sent back to us. So this has been vetted as well by an external law firm.
Okay, and the other one, I don't know whether you, enhance, the social media, policy, but I'm glad to see that's in there. Because-
Yes, we had some help with the IT and the PIO on that, along with legal, because that's always a tricky one,
Yes.
not to infringe on freedom of speech, but we did enhance it a bit.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, good. So, I mean, obviously, I agree with Alice. However, I think that 9 out of 10 times, the chain of command is, as York just said, is a great place to go. So we can somehow look about that, just the
Okay.
10% or less that it involves, so we can make Ms. Howard feel comfortable in that. I think that's a good idea. Any other comments or, all right, so I'd like to move then this to county council for a resolution. Is there any objection to doing that? And we did have a motion and a second. So we've now moved this then to county council without objection.
I don't have a.
Oh, you have a motion? All right, so I do need a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Glover. Is there a second?
A second with the changes we talked about.
All right,
Well, I
good.
can't, he made the motion. I
Any
can't say that.
additional discussion?
No.
Seeing no discussion, this will move forward to county council for a resolution without objection. Seeing no objection, it has been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mead. Thank you for coming. We appreciate everything you do, and that's a great job. I know how much work you all had put into that. All right, let's move on then, and I think we have number 15, recommend approval of a resolution repealing and replacing council's rules and procedures. And I think, Mr. Chairman Passman, that you were going to handle this for us?
This is gone through several iterations. I've made a call out to council members to comment, make any suggested changes. A couple people have done. There are still a couple little tweaks that even though they went through several iterations, something slipped through the cracks. Mr. Kevney told me about one just before the meeting that will be cleaned up. So we're close. We're 99.9% sure that this is what we want in a rules and procedure manual that will then go to an outside agency to produce it so that we will have physical copies as well as digital copies. So if there aren't any other concerns, I would make that motion to move it on to council.
All right, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
All right, any more discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Ms. Tabner, go ahead.
So I just want to verify, Mr. Passman, he got my couple of things.
Yes.
Okay, so for example, on page 202, just for everybody else, we should note that a council member can make a motion to extend public comment like we did previously.
Yeah.
And I appreciated adding the bullet 7 on executive session. That was a good addition. And then just that we're careful that everywhere we say himself, it should say himself, herself.
Okay. Well, there are a couple of other minor changes too that the chairman and I will coordinate with before it comes to council.
All right, so this will be moved to council without objection. Is there any objection? Seeing no objection, this says move forward then.
Will we get the digital corrections in the complete document before
think-
council's meeting?
Yeah, once we have made all of these other final tweaks, it will go to council.
Before December 11th?
Yeah, before the approval on December 11th to
Okay.
ensure that everybody is okay, because I don't want to send it out for publication and say, oh gee, you know,
Yeah,
we forgot
got it.
that.
Okay, thanks.
All right, let's move on then. Number 16, recommended approval of Amanda Dickman, Library Director, to the First Steps Partnership Board. Go ahead and read a letter that we received on June 19th, 2023. Act number 81 went into effect upon Governor McMaster's signature of law amended section such and such code to state that the county library system shall recommend one member of the county council for appointment by council to serve as a member of the First Steps Partnership Board. Write this letter to formally request that Amanda Brewer Dickman, Library Director, may be appointed to the Beaufort County First Steps Local Partnership Board.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there a second?
No, second. unless Tab wants to.
Oh, yeah, well.
Tab, did you want to second that?
I would love to second it. She's a great choice. Thank you.
Is there any more discussion?
No, Mr. Chairman, the comment I want to make is that the First Step Board is a good organization, and the selection from this body here is a good person. So it should be a good marriage there.
And Mr. Kevin, did I miss anything from that? You and I had a conversation previous about, is there anything else I need to add to this whole thing? No? Okay, we're good. So is there any objection? Seeing no objection, approval has been, recommended approval has been made. Congratulations, Ms. Dickman. All right, let's move on then to agencies, boards, number 17. And
I have a question, 2 questions.
yes, Ms. Brown.
Did we receive any other applicants for this?
17?
Yes. And I don't understand, it says District 10 resident swap change approved by Councilmember Reese. What does that mean?
He's
He's
that-
11.
Yeah, he is District 11, and District 11 had a vacancy that he
Oh.
couldn't fill, and he agreed to allow Mr. Varel to fill that, even though Mr. Varel does not live in District 11.
Okay, so is Mr. Vero gonna serve District 10 and 11?
No, District 10 already has someone.
Oh, it does. Oh, so, okay, I got it. All right, thanks.
And I actually have someone from District 10 serving as my District 9 representative.
Oh,
He's a
really?
very, very qualified person,
Yeah.
yes, though, and he's
Do
representing
this for
District, the whole county, but District 9 with my district.
It's a great committee, I think.
Okay, so, all right, so, number 17, let me see, boards and commissions, Beaufort County Transportation Committee. Recommend approval of appointment of John Verrill to the Beaufort County Transportation Committee for a 4-year term with the expiration date of November 2027.
You need a motion on that?
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll say.
Okay, go ahead.
Second?
Second.
Any additional discussion? Seeing no discussion, it'll be approved without objection. Is there any objection?
This go to council, or is this effective now?
It goes to council as a resolution.
Okay.
All right, that is everything that comes before this committee except for executive session. And pursuant to South Carolina Code Section 30-4-70A2 to receive legal advice where the advice relates to pending litigation, several matters. And we cannot mention what those matters are. But there may be matters arising out of executive session. Is there someone that would make a motion for us to go into executive session?
So second.
Is there a second? Yep, thank you. All right, any objection? See no objection, we are going to go into executive session, and again, we will come out to adjourn the meeting. And I appreciate everyone's patience today. I know things have run on longer.
Sarah, did Tab send you what she sent me? All right, I'll send it on to you. I thought.
Anything else to come before our committee? Seeing no other action, we are adjourned. Thank y'all.
Mention the tree lighting.
Oh, sorry, yes, tree lighting, December 8th, 6 p.m., right out here. Everyone,
Yes, happy Thanksgiving.
Friday.
Friday.
So,
Okay.